Goodluck Ebere Jonathan was so kind of like, I don't know, it was probably like so threatened enough that at a point he came out and he said, you know, his election is not worth the blood of any Nigerian. Because he saw through them, he saw that they had plotted that they were going to burn down the country. It was obvious. Jonathan won't go. They were saying it. They will form a parallel government against him. Right? They will give him a backboard treatment. You know a backboard treatment? They will enter inside the Aso Rock. Yeah, people will die. Not them, or other people's children will die. But they will drag him out of that place. It was so tense. Then they took power. Now, this time, it was time for them to kind of cement it. Yeah, Rufai once said now.
Look, if we have to pay you not to kill our people, we're happy to do it.
Is that the only solution that you're adopting, to pay them to stop the killing?
That is the only solution we can see. If anyone has a better solution, he should give us. If you have somebody in Guinea that you cannot prove is responsible for this, but you say, look, we apologize, this has happened. But it didn't happen in my time. Okay, I'm the governor now, this has happened. We apologize that you are caught up in our domestic issues. Have you lost cattle? We can pay. Have you lost lives? We can pay compensation. Compensation for lives and property has foundations even in the Quran and the Bible. Look, if we have to...
So that was the Rufai then. The issue of killing the Shiite was to trigger a religious kind of like a war, in order to further make the country almost like ungovernable, eventually, right? So if I was Dati, I would mention names, because somebody like him probably will have better information than myself, because whatever I tell you, they're already in the public. Do you understand? It's not like somebody's, not like I probably have a hunch or something. No. They're already in the public. And that's why we have Mayegun's diary political. They said, Goodluck Ebere Jonathan, you know, he had this cabal and this, that, right? That they were telling him not to, concede at the time, but he felt like the lives of Nigerians are so important enough that their lives are kind of more important than himself being president, right? So he had to pick up the phone and call Buhari and congratulate him, even when some of his ministers were still deliberating what to do. That singular phone call changed everything. More than 1 million Nigerians, right, have been either killed or injured permanently, while over 10 million Nigerians have been displaced. I don't want to give you the amount of money that now goes into kidnappings in Nigeria. Baba, terrorism became an industry. Nigerians no longer get mad when they hear that people are kidnapped or people are killed. They just move on. But APC taught Nigerians to get mad, enraged. How is this possible? The majority of those who bought the lies at the time, who bought the propaganda at the time, some of them are dead now. But many of them are no longer the same, while some have already jackpot, right? So that experience, somebody asked him recently, Ebere Jonathan, here's what he said.
And in the Senate, and in the subnationals, that means we had more governors, almost 22 to 21 governors, and almost 473 local governments out of 774 from Nigeria. My question has to do with this scenario of most leaders, particularly in Nigeria, having what you call in the Nigerian parlance, cabal. This cabal are defined as the inner caucus of most head of states or president in Nigeria. And there was this rumor that if the cabal had known you are going to concede to the president, we had this rumor that you would have been drugged so that you will be sleeping for 24 hours. And therefore, there is no way you concede. Secondly, we heard that there was this rumor that they make it almost impossible for you to come out and address the Nigerian nation while conceding. Mr. President, my question is, did you foresee at that material time that there are some interest groups within the presidency and outside the presidency that had that ambition, and therefore you did a fast one on them and quickly concede even before the formal announcement of the official result? That is one angle. The next question has to do with the aftermath. I'm concluding. Mr. President, is there anything that still agitates your mind that you would have actually accomplished as a president, that day in, day out, we keep thinking about it? What specific things will you now share with the audience that you wish to accomplish but did not? Thank you very much.
Thank you, distinguished Senator Nengi. Luckily, we are in government at the same time. You are still there, but I've left. In terms of my concession, there are so many stories about it that were not quite right. In terms of the issue of cabal, I don't know, Nigeria, that word cabal has now come to stay in our political vocabulary. But there is nobody who will hold a very high office, even in the private sector, that don't have some key people around him. No matter how knowledgeable you are, you need people to sometimes give you certain suggestions, sometimes look at something differently. So there's absolutely nothing wrong in a president having some key leaders that he can, because not everybody will easily have access to the president. In one way or the other, he may have some friends, some old colleagues, and so on. The problem we have is that, and that's why we use this name cabal and we put some kind of negative connotation to it, because the advice and their suggestions is to their own benefit. If they are advising a president or a prime minister on general things that will bring benefit to the public, nobody will frown about it. Why should the president have a cabinet of ministers? They are all cabal, because they meet in the executive council to conspire about how they will run the country. But it's just a larger cabal. So, yeah, so presidents have that. I don't really have a cabal by definition. But yes, some elders, some people senior to me who have been in government before me, who have seen it all, from time to time see me to make suggestions. And that is normal for everybody. I remember there was a time I was talking with the first military governor of the old River State, King Dieta Spiv, who was the governor at the age of 24, as a military officer. I said that sometimes when he called some of his commissioners and direct them to do certain things, they will turn at you and say, my son will not do it this way. So you have those kind of who are senior to you that sometimes can help. So there's nothing wrong. And there's no cabal that confused me. That day, I remember vividly that I called General Buhari. Results were coming in. Then I witnessed the incident that happened at the National Election Center when Elder Rubebe, who was representing me, challenged Jiga, the chairman of the National Independent Electoral Commission. And it was very bad, and people say the country would go into crisis. We witnessed all that. So, yeah, some of my aides, some ministers were there with me, some of my aides were there. And people were talking random. I couldn't even talk. I was just listening to people. Everybody is making one suggestion or the other, and so on. I remember Ngozi too was there, the finance minister then. Attorney General, I think, was also there. Dudafa was there. This theater minister then, Shidoka. Shidoka was also there, and so on. I listened to everybody was talking. So at a point, I left them and entered.
And in the Senate.
And I entered and I called him, and that singular phone call is what led Nigeria to where Nigeria is today. And El Rufai became governor of Kaduna in 8 years. In case if some of you, you have bought into any of their ongoing social media, data boys who are trying to launder their image and trying to make you feel like, to make you feel like you are just a data or something, for calling out the evil of El Rufai, right? 1 second though. Sorry. Right. So I have a list. I don't know. I just feel like I should either, to rejig our memories, the kind of person this character is, and those who are living victims, the people of the Southern Kaduna. I'll read that out. Okay. So this was compiled by Patrick Annum, a Middle Belton, a Southern Kadunan, or a Kadunist. I don't know how to pronounce that, all right? But here, he said, some useless people on Twitter were sarcastically asking what terrible things El Rufai did during his 8-year tenure. Well, I've got time. I can list them out for you now for the record. This is coming from the account of those who are a direct victim of these people. 1. Kaduna was known as the worst place in Nigeria to be a journalist by the Nigerian Union of Journalists in 2020. So, El Rufai went after journalists. Luka Binyat of Vanguard, Anthony Jacobson of Authentic, Hahudi Maikori of Chocolate City, dragged from various states and jailed unlawfully. Now, this is someone who enjoys free press but limited press freedom when he was governor. So he's referring to El Rufai going to media houses right now and all that, right? While at the time, I remember one guy that they had to kidnap the guy from Port Harcourt. El Rufai said, if you criticize me on social media, I will come for you. And there were those who actually languished in jail for years. And there's a guy called Adiyata. They never see him again. So he said, even after the Adara king's murder, 8 Adara elders that protested, El Rufai arrested them unlawfully arrested and jailed them unlawfully for 1 year. Excuse me, until the court freed them. In 2017, El Rufai's administration created a 13-man reform committee. It went about renaming 25 chiefdoms in southern Kaduna. It slashed districts from 390 to 77. He purposely weakened the roles of traditional rulers and their roles in southern Kaduna. And in 2021, his 2021 law that he enacted demoted and regraded chiefs, all in a bid to promote Fulani hegemony in Kaduna State. Timothy Bigandu cited official documents, including a letter dated June 20, 2017, from the secretary to the state government, as proof that the state government under El Rufai, not the traditional institutions, originated the process of altering the chieftaincy system. 5. Imposition of emirates on predominantly Christian communities. Several chiefdoms in southern Kaduna, including Kauru, Kagarko, Kajuru, and Lere, were converted into emirates, a title traditionally associated with Muslim Hausa and Fulani leadership. This move was perceived as an imposition on predominantly Christian communities, altering their traditional governance structures without their consent. The murder of paramount rulers such as Agom Adara, Dr. Raphael Maiwada Galadima on October 2018 raised suspicions about the state involvement in undermining indigenous leadership. His death occurred after he reportedly declined a request from the governor for grazing lands exclusively for Fulani herders. 7. Many Southern Kaduna groups have accused the Rufai of aiding and abetting what they describe as genocide in Southern Kaduna, especially after he admitted to using state funds to make payment to terrorists as incentives not to carry out killings, which however escalated the killings after the admittance of such payments. 8. The Kachia Grazing Reserve, established in 1967 to settle nomadic pastoralists, was expanded from 33,400 hectares to 77,000 hectares during El Rufai's tenure. This expansion occurred without the consent of the indigenous communities, which was expanded to include their territories, leading to concerns over land rights and the displacement of local farmers. Studies have shown that the reserve is home to approximately 10,000 Fulani pastoralists and their 40,000 cattle, with some immigrants settling in the area. It was also involved in boundary adjustment that happened from Ikulu Chiefdom area, local government area, to Adara Chiefdom in Kachia. Sorry, I'll take that again. Adjustment that happened from Ikulu Chiefdom in Zango Kataf, local government area, and to Adara Chiefdom in Kachia local government area, as an effort to increase the Hausa Fulani Muslim populations in Kachia and Adara, thereby altering the demographic and political landscape of the region. 9. El Rufai embarked on retrenchment of no fewer than 21,000 teachers, thousands more in the civil service, pointing out the most of these people that were sacked and others forced to go on voluntary retirement are yet to be paid their retirements, almost 6 years after they were forced out. Can go on and on and on. There's so much. El Rufai imposed 24-hour curfews in Southern Kaduna, including in Jima, and Kaura local government areas. While intended to restore order, these curfews were viewed by many as punitive measures that economically crippled the region. Critics argued that the curfews disproportionately affected local businesses and daily life without effectively addressing the root causes of the violence, of which he only fueled through his divisive rhetoric and payment of terrorists with taxpayers' funds. Says despite the persistent threat of Fulani terrorists and the displacement of residents in Southern Kaduna, El Rufai's administration was criticized for its failure to establish internally displaced persons, IDP camps. Local leaders and civil society organizations have demanded a judicial probe into these actions, accusing the administration of neglecting the welfare of displaced persons and failing to provide adequate support during times of crisis. Governor El Rufai repeatedly refused to visit Southern Kaduna. I know that one. In the aftermath of violent attacks. One clear example was in December 2022, over 46 people were killed in Kagoro, Kaura local government area. Yet the governor did not visit the affected communities or offer public condolences despite such a monumental catastrophe affecting the state. It was interpreted as a sign of indifference and neglect. However, it just showed how nonchalant it was to issues in Southern Kaduna. It's quite long. I can share that with you, by the way. Some points. So El Rufai and Goodluck Ebere Jonathan's weakness that led to the emergence of the APC, Egbekegbe, who took the economy that he handed over an economy of nearly $600 billion and they wiped that off. Today, Nigerian economy is not only down, it's pretty much like crippled. And now they have the demented Kolu that is even promoting his own nepotism, impunity, and bigotry at the national level. That those who said they sacrificed in bringing him to power are currently gnashing their teeth because they feels like